Welcome to This Is How We Create, a show that digs deeper into the creative life of contemporary artists of color. Discover what feeds their creativity and how they found or are finding their artistic voice. Through these intimate and candid conversations, you'll gain insights into the lives of creative professionals of color that are hard to find anywhere else. Hey friend, welcome back to This Is How We Create. My name is Martine Severin, your host. Today we are going to be talking about something I'd like to think is a secret, because I've talked about it with my friends and family, but for years I felt like a fraud. I quit my full-time job to become a photographer, and then I finally made the leap everyone talks about. And I thought, I really thought that meant that I would wake up every morning and just photograph things, like big editorial shoots. I would book projects. I would fly from one place to another. It was something like out of a movie, but I never really fully understood what it meant to be a full-time photographer. And for example, I thought 100% of my income would come from being a photographer. But here's what actually happened. I pieced it together. I had editorial work when I could get it. I had portrait sessions that I would use to fill in the gaps. I would teach, I would consult, I would have print sales. I did licensing. I did whatever it took to pay the bills, whether it was my kid who suddenly broke his leg or needing groceries. If you're a creative, for example, and you have multiple income streams and you felt, a little bad about having several different income streams, this episode is for you. Don't feel bad. Everyone has multiple income streams. It's very rare that artists or even people who have a 9-to-5 only have one job. Everyone is doing what they can, especially these days, to make things work. But not knowing this caused me to feel a bit of shame and to feel a bit like a fraud. And why is that? Well, the whole time prior to telling you what I'm going to tell you about now, I felt like I was failing. I felt like I hadn't really made it because my income looked like a patchwork quilt, not a singular focused thing I thought I was supposed to be doing, but instead things here and there and there. Then I saw something that one of our guests posted on her account. And I'm talking about Andrea Pippins. So Andrea Pippins posted her income pie on Instagram. Her income chart was pretty simple. It was pretty clean. If you caught that episode, in her income pie, she talked about how 70% of her income came from books, 22% came from commissions, and 5% came from royalties, and 3% from speaking. We all know Andrea Pippins. Well, Andrea Pippins is really successful by any measure, by every measure. Her work is in museums. She's published books. She's made it, and her income, it's just a pie. Lots and lots of slices, just like mine. And what I also really appreciated is the fact that Andrea wasn't hiding her income pie. She was just sharing that her life was funded by multiple things. And then suddenly, once I saw that post, I feel like there's something that nobody tells you when you're building a creative practice. I find that the people who seem to have it together, most of them, they have multiple income streams. That editorial photographer you admire, she's probably also teaching workshops. She's probably doing work that she's not putting on her website. That illustrator with the beautiful book deals, 70% might come from books, but the other 30%, they might come from freelance commissions, speaking gigs, and maybe licensing. Everyone's career is built. Many people's career are built on pies, not just single slices. And I think the reason we don't talk about it is because we think that it means that we haven't arrived yet if we don't have a full, 100% pie. And I think the goal is to make money. We think that the goal is to make all of our money from one pure source. That's the dream, right? Just one source, nothing else. But what if the pie isn't a sign of failure? What if it's the thing that gives you freedom? Which is bringing us to drum roll. I'm going to talk to you about my income pie. So here is how it goes. You ready? Okay. 72% of my income comes from creative work. It comes from editorial and commercial photography, and it's basically it comes from what I want to be known for. Now, 12% of my work comes from supplemental creative income. Think print sales, stock work, meaning I create stock images and I license those, and then grants when I can get them. And then 16%, well, it's bridge income. Some of it comes from my newsletter, Creative Matters from Substack. Other comes from portrait sessions, newspaper assignments. Sometimes I teach. Sometimes I do public speaking, all of that stuff. And when I saw that 16%, I felt I was embarrassed, y'all. Like, shouldn't I be past this now? Shouldn't I be past that 16%? But then I did the math. If I needed to make 100% of my income from editorial and commercial photography, I would have to say yes to everything. I'd have to say yes to every project, every pitch. And I think that for me, that would mean less room to experiment, no time to develop new work, just, I guess, a constant hustle. Instead, because 16% of my income comes from other sources, I can be more ruthless about that 72%. I can turn down projects that drain me, if I'm honest, and I can pitch weird ideas to publications. I can take 3 months to develop a hobby or work without panic. And if I'm honest, here's the truth of it all. The bridge work that I do is the work that gets me hired for commercial work, as well as some of the few editorial work that I do. Because when a new client comes along, they don't want to see what you've done for other clients. They want to see what your point of view is. They really want to see who you are. And the bridge work, which sometimes contains personal work that I create, and then I sell it as prints to my collectors. Well, that bridge work, it's essential. I didn't realize how essential that it would be, but I really love my bridge work. When it comes to your income pie, whatever it looks like right now, know that it isn't static. So when it comes to your income pie, whatever it looks like right now, I'm sure that it isn't static. It's going to change year after year based on what you need and what the world gives you. So there are some years where I find that the supplemental income will carry you, or at least it carries me. And then there are other years as well where the dream work expands so you can let other things fall away. This is all to say, I find that the pie adapts. The pie adapts to the economy, and then I adapt, and that's how I sustain a creative life. So if you are starting out and you're piecing things together right now, if your income looks like a quilt instead of a single beautiful tapestry, I want you to know you, my friend, you're not a fraud. Remember, you are building something sustainable. You're building a sustainable practice. You're building something that can weather the lean times and something that will give you freedom in the abundant times. I have homework for you. I always love giving homework. It's the inner teacher in me, if you will. So I want you to really think about drawing your own pie. I want you to think about your budget. Now, if you are following along, you know that we're doing a series on creative finance right now. And in one of the series, I reveal, instead of just giving you percentages, I reveal what I do, what I take home every year, or what I aim to take home. It's kind of like I managed to create my base in terms of what it is that I need to survive as an artist, as well as what I need to live my life, what keeps the lights on up in here, how I pay for this water that I'm drinking, or even my cell phone bill, right? All of those things. So go and check out our creative finance series on Creative Matters. This is a series on finance that we're doing. I'm so happy that we're doing it because I feel like not as many people talk about finance. Be sure to really check out the Creative Matters. And by the time this episode comes out, we will also have a downloadable worksheet that you'll be able to use to calculate your own numbers. But for now, I really want you to think about drawing your own pie. And once you draw your pie, I want you to look at it and look at it without judgment. We want to leave judgment out the door here. Then I want you to ask yourself, which slice is your anchor slice? Which slice supports that anchor by giving you stability? And which of the slices are draining you without serving either purpose, right? We all have those slices. Now, for that homework, you don't have to share it publicly. But if you do, go ahead and draw it as you did, as Andrea did, as I will. Calculate it for yourself and you can keep it for yourself. But in the case that you want to share with us, I'm thinking about doing several posts where people share their income pie and talk about how they make decisions in their creative life and how are they making their money. As I wrap up, just think about it. The artists who make it, they're not the ones with perfect singular income streams. They're the ones, likely the ones who are figure out how to build their pies that sustain them financially, creatively, and emotionally. So build your pie, my friend, and stop apologizing for the fact that, well, your pie might have more than just one slice. That's it for now. Stay creative. And thank you so much for joining us on this series that we're doing on creative finances. Hi there. I have a quick favor to ask you before you go. If you're loving the show, would you mind taking a quick second to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite go-to podcast app? Here's the thing. Those reviews are like magic fairy dust. They help other creatives of color discover our show and tap into their own artistic superpowers. While you're at it, why not subscribe to our Substack newsletter, Creative Matters? Creative Matters is like a weekly dose of inspiration delivered straight to your inbox. You can find the link to subscribe in the show notes. All right, that's all that I have for you today. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Bye.